She said it like a command, not a request. "You're sleeping in the guest room until you apologize." I looked at her, my wife, my CEO, the woman who built her empire on control, and I just said, "All right." That was it. No argument, no defense, no plea for understanding. Just, "All right." And the silence that followed wasn't defeat. It was ignition. We used to be equals, partners, not just in marriage but in ambition. When we met, I was running a small consulting firm. She was the rising star of her company. I taught her how to read a room, how to bend perception in her favor, how to win without drawing blood. She used to say I had a mind for strategy. "You see 10 moves ahead," she'd whisper after closing another deal. But somewhere along the way, she stopped whispering and started ordering. She became the storm, and I became the shelter that didn't matter anymore. It wasn't sudden. It was gradual erosion, tiny humiliations disguised as jokes, dismissals brushed off as stress. Then one night, during a dinner with her board, she called me her house consultant. Everyone laughed. I smiled too. But inside, something cracked. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't start with knives. It starts with laughter. The real betrayal came later. I didn't find it in her phone. I'm not that kind of man. I found it in her laptop, the one she left open after a board meeting. Her emails. The ones between her and the CFO. Not just numbers. Not just strategy. Words. Intimate. Familiar. "I'll talk to him tonight," she'd written. "Once he signs the papers, we'll be free to move forward." Papers. Not divorce papers. Share transfer agreements. My shares, the ones she convinced me to sign over as temporary. She was preparing to cut me out of the company I helped her build, the life I built around her. I stared at those words for a long time. My first thought wasn't heartbreak. It was calculation. That night, I went to the guest room as instructed. She thought she'd won a small victory. She didn't know she'd just declared war. I started small, quiet, controlled. First, I made copies of everything. Emails, transactions, hidden accounts. Then I met with her former assistant, the one she fired for incompetence. Turns out the girl had a photographic memory and a grudge. Useful combination. While my wife was busy playing corporate empress, I played the patient ghost, moving through her world without sound. She forgot that silence was my weapon. I contacted my attorney, a man who owed me more than a few favors. We drew up the divorce papers, but not ordinary ones. Every clause, every asset transfer, every line was a legal maze she couldn't untangle without walking straight into her own confession. Then I withdrew my shares from her company's joint trust, quietly. She wouldn't notice. Her focus was on expansion, not detail. I left a digital trail that pointed straight to her CFO. By the time she realized something was wrong, it would already be public. The night before I left, she stood in the doorway of the guest room, arms crossed. "Are you done sulking?" she asked. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The sharp suit, the calculating eyes, the arrogance that used to seduce me. "I'm done," I said. She smirked. "Good. Come back to bed tomorrow after you apologize." I nodded once. "All right." But tomorrow never came. When she woke up the next morning, I was gone. The closet half empty, my side of the bed cold, the divorce papers on the desk beside her favorite mug. I imagined she stood there for a while, scanning the words, confusion turning into disbelief. Disbelief into rage. The CEO in her would look for loopholes. The woman in her would look for explanations. She'd find neither. Because attached to those papers were copies of her own emails, her hidden accounts, her plans to defraud shareholders, evidence enough to bury her career. By noon, her CFO's name was trending online. Leaked documents, insider trading, affair rumors. Her empire began to crumble, not with an explosion, but with quiet precision. Exactly how I planned it. I didn't need to confront her. I didn't need to scream. I just let her world fold in on itself. She called me that evening. 23 missed calls before I finally answered. "What did you do?" she whispered. Her voice wasn't sharp anymore. It was trembling, fractured. "What you taught me," I said. "I learned from the best." There was silence on the line, just breathing, shallow and uncertain. Then she said, "You ruined everything." "No," I replied. "You did. I just stopped cleaning up after you." I hung up. That was the last time we spoke. A week later, I watched her press conference from a hotel room 2 cities away. She wore black, spoke of mismanagement and betrayal from within. Even as her company burned, she still couldn't admit fault, still couldn't apologize. That's the difference between us. She thought control was power. I knew control was patience. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about her. The way she used to look at me when she believed we were unstoppable. There's no joy in revenge, not the kind that leaves ashes behind. But there's clarity. I didn't destroy her for leaving me. I destroyed her because she forgot who helped her rise and thought she could push me into the guest room of my own life. Now she sleeps in the ruins she built. And I sleep just fine.